Okay guys, how are you? Today we will be talking about something I love, and that is manifestation. But the point of this video is ignore reality. If you want to manifest anything you have always desired, you have to ignore reality. Because reality shows you old outcomes of your old identity. But today, we're going to change your identity. And I am not afraid to say that the info I will share in this video will change your life forever. Because I will teach you how to manifest from a scientific point of view. I will teach you the tools you need that come from psychology so you can change your life. I mean, I love philosophy, but today we will talk about scientific stuff and rigorous stuff that we can use directly to change our lives. But changing our lives means changing ourselves. So let's start with the first point of this video. So, manifestation. What is manifestation? Manifestation is basically the law of cause and effect. Wait, I will need to practice a little bit, but manifestation is basically the law of cause and effect. If you want to change your life, that means you want to get certain effects in your life. Maybe you want family, maybe you want friends, maybe you want money, maybe you want a business, maybe you want a career, whatever. I mean, you want something, and that something is an effect. But effects need a cause. That's what the law of cause and effect says. That every effect has its cause, and every cause has an effect. So if you want to generate certain effects, you need to create the cause. But the cause is you. You are the cause of the effects you can see around you. So if you don't have the effects you want, that means you will have to change. And you will have to change a lot. It's not difficult, but it requires some practice so you can actually master your mind and change the proper way so you can make it. So let's jump straight away into science, because the law of cause and effect is great, but it's not enough. So we have to learn something else. If you want to get certain effects, you just don't go and build them. Because if you were the cause, you would already have them. I mean, you can try. It's fine, maybe you can. But most of the things we want, we have to change first. Like the majority of the things. So how do we change? Okay, so we have a body, we have a mind, we have a consciousness, we have our family, we have a house, hopefully. So what's the thing we have to change? Well, that's our minds. We have to change our minds first, because everything else is just an effect of our minds. Our bodies are like most of the physical representation of our bodies is genetics, but we can change a little bit our bodies. So, and it doesn't matter, the main cause is our brains. So if we change our brains, we can change everything. Now, so what we have to change is our minds. Let's draw a brain. So we have a brain, right? And this brain, let me tell you that our brains live in a complex world. We have to get food, we have to socialize, we have to reproduce, we have to stay healthy. That's really complex stuff to do. And it consumes a lot of energy. But energy in the body is finite. So we have to administrate that energy in the smartest way possible, right? So what our brain does is automate processes. If we automate processes, we can reduce the energy consumption, so we can save energy in case we need it if something happens. So how does our brains automate processes? Well, the basic structure of the automation is mapping actions with situations. So you will probably know that every time you face a familiar situation like saying hi to somebody or washing your hands or waking up or doing whatever, you don't even think about the action you are executing. You just do it. That's because it's automated. You don't have to think about it because it's part of the unconscious mind. It's an automatic system. It's an automation system, and it's like a system that is run in the background, like the unconscious mind. So, how does our brain create this automatic system that maps actions with situations by creating what I call an operational framework? So let me explain myself. So our brains create an operational framework inside of it. That operational framework is made by or with data and information, info. So data by itself has no meaning. Data can be numbers or maybe memories. In the case of our brains, data means memories. And memories by itself have no meaning, have no significance. So what our brain does is interprets those memories and create the info. So, for example, suppose you are shy and you try to socialize with somebody someday in the past. And you try talking to that person, but the interaction was awkward because you are shy and you acted in a super awkward way. So the interaction was a failure. So the brain stores the experience and then takes conclusions. And those conclusions are basically, I am shy, I am confident, I cannot socialize easily. So you believe that. And next time you try to socialize, your brain will use that information to design the action. By design, I mean taking the automatic action associated with the familiar situation and adapting it to the specific new situation. Because you don't wash your hands the exact same way every time, because the sink may be in a higher or a lower position, so your brain basically adjusts the action a little bit, right? Like you don't even think about washing your hands. You have to think a little bit and understand where the sink is and open the sink so the water runs and you can wash your hands, right? So the same happens with social situations, with your business, or you training in the gym, or your career, your family, whatever. It's all the same. So your brain stores data and info, and this data and info constitute your operational framework, which can be divided into two big groups. Those are basically your identity and your environment. And this group right here is what you believe about yourself. It's who you think you are. It's just who you think you are. It's not who you are because you are a consciousness. You're not your personality. Your personality is just data and info stored in your brain that constitute a specific personality that conditions your behavior. So you act in a certain way all the time. So people know you and know who you are. So yes, you are your identity, but you can change this, and this is pretty easy. And you don't need to make money to change. You don't need to get a degree to change. You don't need better clothes to change, and you need nothing. You don't need anything to change. You just change. And the environment and the info and data you have about your environment is what you think about your environment. For example, if you think that people are good or evil, or if you think money is scarce or abundant, or the gravity is part of this group right here. I mean, we can understand gravity from a math thematical point of view, of course, but in a daily basis, we use our like operational framework to understand how the world works and how gravity works. We don't use maths to put something on the top of a table. We just know it will be held by the table because it's stored in this place in our brains. So what the brain does with all this info is predict. Okay? Your brain predicts events, what's going to happen. So when you want to socialize with someone, or you want to build a business, or you want to study, or you want to, I don't know, like try to talk to a girl or boy you like, your brain will use this info to evaluate and predict the event. So suppose you are trying to build a business and it's night, or you just woke up and you have to get to work, but you think you are undisciplined. Like your data and info says that you are an undisciplined person, an unworthy person, and you are not smart. Let's just suppose, this is just this is an example. This is not true. Maybe you can think about this later and realize about some beliefs maybe you have about yourself, but this is not something you have to believe. Like, this is just an example, that's what I mean. Like, suppose you are suppose you are undisciplined, you are unconfident, you are not smart. That's what you think of yourself. And you have data that shows that in the past, you sometimes acted that way. So when you had to work, you skipped the work, you didn't do it, you went to sleep, you scrolled for hours, you ate out of your diet, like sugar, high carbs stuff, So you have the data and the info that states who you are. Now, you want to build a business, and you just woke up and you have to go to work. Well, your brain will predict failure. Failure, yes. Because if you failed in the past and you believe that failure is true, and that's who you are, then your brain will say, okay, if that's who I am, then why not? I mean, we have to be undisciplined, because that's who we are, and we have evidence that shows it. So if you are predicting failure, it creates like a kind of negative momentum inside your brain that says, okay, if the business is going to fail because I am undisciplined, I am unworthy, and I am not smart, then I won't even try to make it. I won't even spend a minute on this business because it's going to fail. And the brain is trying to optimize energy consumption. Remember that your brain is a machine that it's constantly trying to save energy and spend it the smartest way possible. So if you think you're undisciplined and the business is going to fail, it's a failed project. So you will not spend a single unit of energy into that project because you are predicting failure. And that's smart. I mean, if the project is going to fail, who would spend any resource on it? But the problem is that you are predicting failure in a project that maybe can be successful, but it depends on the cost. So if you don't change yourself, you will never be able to predict the right way. And from this prediction, you create action. This action is what defines what's going to happen. So everything starts here. You have info and data about reality, who you think you are, and what you think your environment is like. From this data group of the set of data and info, you make predictions, and based on those predictions, you design actions. So if your predictions are bad and wrong, you will design the wrong actions. For example, if you think you are undisciplined, so you predicted failure, and you predicted yourself failing because you predicted yourself scrolling for hours, you will do it. Because action is designed based on this prediction. So if you want to change your life, you have to change your actions. If you want to change your actions, you have to change your predictions. And if you want to change your predictions, you have to change the info you have about yourself and about your environment. How? How do you do that? Well, it's simple. It just takes one skill, but you have to really master this skill. and that is awareness. This is one of my favorite words in the world. You know, awareness is what will give you free will. Because remember, this system is automatic. It runs in the background. So if you don't make it conscious, you will never have free will. Like, I'm being serious. Like, it makes sense if you think about this. It's like Carl Jung said, make the unconscious conscious, or it will direct your life. So, you have to be aware of all of this. All of these can be like represented in your daily life as thoughts. You have thoughts about what you want to do, about your dreams, about the past, about who you think you are. You have, maybe you're worried about something. Maybe you want to work in a business, but you have negative emotions attached to that business. Like, you're worried because you think you're not going to make money. Maybe you think it's hard. Maybe you are trying some online business model. Maybe you are trying to build a body in the gym and you are trying to set the macros correctly. Or maybe you are trying to study and you don't understand how to properly prepare for the exam. Or you are trying to build relationships, but you fail usually. So that means this is wrong. The data and info in your brain is wrong. If you change this, you become a different person. And who is stopping you from changing yourself? I'm sure you want to change yourself. Like, I'm sure you have like an ideal version of yourself in your head. Just embody it today. That's the main point of this video. You have to embody your ideal version of yourself today. Not when you make money, not when you get the degree, not when you get your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. Like, just embody that version today. You just have to embody it. When you embody that version will take the responsibility to change your life. So stop being yourself. Like, just get aware of your thoughts. Understand that you are the observer of your thoughts. Your thoughts are not real or fake. Your thoughts just are. So if a thought pops up in your mind and shows you failing in the past and explaining, like, the thought, of course, it's not like an independent consciousness, but what I mean is like the thought is trying to transmit something to you. And that thought maybe is telling you that you are going to fail, or you are going to act undisciplinedly as usual. So, I mean, who cares about that thought? Just change. Decide who you are. Embody the ideal version of yourself now. Now, just decide. Decide who you are. Nothing matters. Your reality doesn't matter. What people say doesn't matter. And what your brain says doesn't matter. You just have to embody it. Your own neural pathways, like the neurons that create your personality, will weaken. Will get weakened along this journey of being aware. Every time you choose to be the new you, you will be weakening the old pathways and you will be strengthening the new pathways. So just be patient. You have to decide who you are and be aware of your thoughts and understand that you are the observer of your thoughts, and your thoughts are not real or fake. Your thoughts just are. Just pick the right ones. Okay? I know it sounds difficult. Maybe you have to think about this a little bit more, but I hope it helped. Thank you for watching. Bye.